Managing Information and Knowledge, that is lecture number 7. We will be completing the LO4 from the start and we will be ending at 4.2 inshallah in today's class. These are the collective command words which we will be doing it in the end. But before that, let's do it LO4, the main heading. Understand policies, procedures, legislation, and best practice for managing information. Now, just to capulate with the information and knowledge that it is authentic or not, the resources from which we are extracting everything, we need to go through certain sets of procedure which are mandatory to follow. And with that, rules and regulations as well, which are from the government or the agencies. Understanding policies for managing information. First, let's start with the policies, then procedures, and in the end, we will go for the last term, which was in the LO4 legislation. Policies provide a structured framework for the information management within an organization. Now, what it means that all the policies, rules, guides mentioned in a paper, report, or instructed by an entrepreneur or a senior manager that needs to be followed by each and every member of the organization. Implications. Adhering to the policies ensures consistency, security, and compliance with regulatory standards. That is, when you're going to follow everything according to policies which are made by the governmental bodies, agencies, organizations itself, competitors, and industries set benchmarks, then definitely all the work, all the process which we are going to do to produce the goods and services for the commodities and for the people, that is going to be underlined under perfect policies. For example, data privacy policy outlining how customer data should be handled because that's a sensitive area. It can be dishandled as well, it can be sold in the black market too. So we have proper bodies in every country which regulate these things. Information security policy. Defining measures to protect sensitive information, the one which is not readily available or readily um, demanded by the people, by the authorities, ISI, government, army, different officers. Then, understanding procedures for managing information. Procedures are step by step guidelines for executing information management tasks, that is, whatsoever task you are going to pursue for the completion of the project, you need to do it according to the steps, according to the criteria, one by one. You are not going to be mangled up everything. Application following established procedures promotes efficiency and reduces the risk of errors. And obviously, when you know that you're doing everything according to the steps, according to the designated procedures and steps, then definitely there will be less errors, chance of the errors, and you are going to seed success in the process of achieving project. Examples: document retrieval procedure. Steps to locate and retrieve specific documents. Sometimes we need to locate the document where it is. It could be manually, it could be by the different softwares and systems. So you cannot do it with a blink or a eye. There is a procedure. You need to do certain steps and then it is readily available to us. Then we have data backup procedure. Guidelines for the regular data backups to prevent loss. Like even in our laptops, lead books and MacBooks, what happened? We have an option for the backbooks, for the backups, and it automatically backup things, even in the phones as well. Why is it necessary? The thing is being stored in certain softwares and systems, but it is for us. We should know the passwords, our IDs, and then things are quite accessible to us. Understanding legislation for managing information. Legislation sets legal requirements and standards for information management. When we are managing information, we are doing it according to a certain set of procedure. It is mandatory that everything is according to the rules and regulations as well, which are made by the government or the governmental agencies. If we are not following the rules, not following the regulations, what will happen? They can get us penalty, heavy taxes, and fines, even sue us. compliance with the relevant laws is essential to avoid legal consequences and safeguard stakeholders' interest. And why we're doing it and focusing on the legislation, because we really don't want that we should miss up an opportunity to be disseminated by the stakeholders, because ultimately these are the people who are investing us. They're giving us the money. And with that, we need to be with the law so that in the end nothing makes us get in the hot water. For example, GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation. Now, this is individually for each and every country. It's kind of an act ensuring the lawful processing of the personal data, the data of the human beings. It is not sold, it is saved with the authorities. Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA, protecting healthcare information, the one which we give information at the reception desk to the different doctors and receptionists when we admit ourselves or we are just in general checkup, because they take our history. There are some patients when they are selling out their confidential things to the doctors, to the receptionists, and they really don't want that anybody would know that what the problem or the actual underlying reason was to get an XYZ treatment. Like in developing nations, you have seen random relatives and people can go into the reception and they can directly go to the main, even in the NICs and ICUs. But this doesn't happen in the developed nations. Only one or two people is allowed, and they even need to wait in the waiting rooms. Best practices for managing information. Key message is that best practices present proven methods and approaches for effective information management. Now, we are in a business industry in the organization. Why we are going to take a bullish act? Obviously, we will be learning from our competitors and from the past performances. Implication: implementing best practices to enhance the organizational efficiency, data quality, and decision making. And why we're working on the best practices, taking the best decision, working on the best raw material, resources, extractions, and everything, because we need to first improve the efficiency of the organization, with that, the efficacy as well. We need to increase the quality standards and the decision making processes as well. For example, regular audits. Periodic assessments of the information management process. Regular audit is necessary after every quarter of a year, biannually, depends. Then user training, ensuring employees are knowledgeable about information handling. They know how to receive the information once it is with them, whether it is a sensitive one or a regular one. They should know how to handle it, how to tackle with it. In summary, understanding and adhering to policies, procedures, legislation, and best practices collectively form a robust foundation for effective information management within organizations. This not only ensures compliance but also contributes to operational excellence and the protection of sensitive data. Now, what it means when we are working purely and solely towards a goal of the organization, objectives of the organization, according to policies, procedures, legislation, and the best practices, then definitely things get easy. We're going to be towards there will be higher chances of achieving more projects and be sustained in the market for a longer run. And definitely your goodwill is also at a good stake. People will know you with a good mouth. So this is what we're going to study in LO4. Is it clear till slide number 9?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Now starting with assessment criteria 4.1, it says analyze policies, procedures, and best practices for managing workplace information. Now, in the very first slides, LO4, we did discuss what these are. You have an idea now. But from now onwards, the slides we are going to focus on first the command verb, that is analyze, and afterwards the points are going to be from indicative content. So, what analyze means? It means break the subject or complex situations into separate parts. Now, whatsoever the terminologies were in your question, legislation, best practice, and policies, procedures, you are going to explain it according to the context of question asked. Then each part in detail, obviously in depth, identify the main issues and show how the main ideas are related to practice and why they're important. So you're going to propose with the problems and solution, and with that the significance as well. And in the end, the references are going to be the Harvard style at the end of the document once you finish the task most probably four or three. Four, I believe, for LO4. Analyzing policies, procedures, and best practices for managing workplace information involves a comprehensive examination of the guidelines organizations have in place ensure the proper handling, storage, and security of information. So, why we are working on these three things? Because we really want that everything gets secured and it is safe. It is in safe hands. The first point from the indicative content is confidentiality policies. What it means: confidentiality policies define how sensitive information should be treated to prevent unauthorized access or disclosure. Because it depends on the sensitivity of the information, what level it possesses with itself. Then we can take a decision whether to disclose it quite quickly or to wait. For example, a healthcare organization may have policies specifying that patient medical records should only be assessed by authorized personnel involved in the patient care. That is, the nurses, junior doctors, senior doctors, MDs, and one or two guests as the which are coming with the patient. Not everybody can assess the information or required history they need to know. Then secure storage procedures. Procedures outline the methods and protocols for securely storing both physical and digital information, that is, the manual information in the form of reports and files, and digital information again in the form of files, but that will be stored in different systems in different categories. Both needs great human power and with that a proper energy as well. But it's necessary. Both the records need to be saved somewhere. For example, digital files containing financial data may require encryption, and physical documents might need to be stored in locked cabinets accessible only by the authorized person. Until date, we do these things. We do have manual reports as well, and we have online reports as well available to us in the digital platforms. Why we need encryption for the financial data? Because it is clearly very sensitive information. We need to know what the sales are, the revenue is, expenses, net profit, your current assets, current liabilities, drawings, and so on, cash inflow, outflow, everything is in these financial records. Roles of data processors and controllers. Let's read that what data processors and controllers are. Clearly defining the roles of data processors, that is handling data, the people who handle the data. It could be of any kind, but whenever the word processor comes, it means they're handling something. Information, procedure, policy. And controller means determining the data processing purposes, why we're doing it, what is the intended purpose of doing the handling data. So both are submarine into each other but necessary at the same time. Processor as well and controllers. Processor handles data, whereas controllers they are going to work on why it is necessary. Ensures accountability and compliance with data protection regulations, and this is because we need to align everything with the rules and laws. For example, in an e-commerce company, the IT department, that is data processor. Why the IT department is said data processor? Because what they're doing, they're handling the information. And if I take an e-commerce company, for example, Amazon, what they're doing, they're handling the information, different kinds of information and types. Whereas it handles the consumer data, while the legal department ensures compliance with privacy laws, that is data controllers. Here ID department, it set a processor. However, the legal department, the one which is handling everything according to rules and regulation, they are doing what? They need to see whatsoever act we're taking in the organization, whether it is according to the law or not. That is the controllers. Is it? Is this concept clear? Processors and controllers.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Then we have principles of best practices. Best practices in the information management encompass overarching principles that guide organizations in handling information responsibly, because that's the mandation as well. You have an information, but if you're not handling it correctly with the proper means, it can cause a big problem. For example, the principle of the data minimization encourages organizations to collect and retain only the data necessary for their operations, reducing the risk of privacy breaches. Here, it doesn't mean the operations in the uh, operation theaters. This means for the daily chores and tasks to meet up with the expenses and working capital, the assets and liabilities. It's important to have enough information, but not an extended one, because it will be troublesome for you. It's not easy to handle that much amount of data. Regular audits and monitoring, that is a check and balance. Conducting regular audits and monitoring activities help organization assess compliance with information management and policies. When you really want that this area, the information management policies excels, then you need to go for regular check and balance. When it has been done, it means that chances are going to be quite less for the errors. For example, an organization might periodically review access logs to identify and address any unauthorized attempts to access sensitive information. Like when in our phones we go for the passwords, sometimes written one or the pattern ones. It just simply, if we are not able to type it correctly or draw it correctly, it just locks the phone. Even same goes for the iPhone. Literally, when I'm walking, I just forget most of the time that I'm having phone in my hand. And just once it just got locked for 1 hour, and I was not even home. So these things do happen. We need to be saved at the same time because phone is the necessity at this time. Employee training and awareness. Ensuring employees are well informed and trained on the information security practices is a key aspect of best practices. Why? Because the employees, their workers are the key entity of the organization. If you're not going to feel and make them motivated that they are an important asset of the organization, then definitely they are not going to work harder to achieve the goals and ambitions of the organization. They will feel like to leave, to redundant, and go for the absenteeism rather than being attentive. So we need to work on this area as well. For example, conducting regular training sessions on recognizing phishing emails helps employees avoid falling victim to cyber threats. And that's appropriate training and a proper skill which needs to be made sure by the management that the workers, the learners, the newbies, they learn it properly and practice it as well. Nowadays, it is very easy to collect different certifications in different fields and skills, but only few people know how to actually run and apply those strategies and tactics. Then we have disposal and retention policies. Policies governing the secure disposal and retention of the information ensure proper life cycle management. Now, the people from 18th century, 17th century, 15th, 16th, when there was a way too less concept of securing data, what was the method which they go for it? Writing on the papers, writing on the camel sheets, on these stones, but there was a preservation process. Nowadays, what the government is instructing us, try to record things not manually but in the system, which is going to be saved only for few years, not more than that, because files can be encrypted and it can be stolen as well. So the key skill here to learn is to manage the data. For example, the institutions may have policies specifying the retention period for the customer transaction records and secure procedures for their eventual disposal. What it means for a year, for 2 years, for max 5 years, and then eventually you cannot fetch up with the data. Data also gets obsolete. Incident response procedures. Having documented incident Mm, procedures ensures a swift and organized response to data breaches or security incidents. When we install these systems, that is called incident response, something happens, bad happens, good happens, we have a system there. What it happens, it will help us to unnecessarily stop breaching of the data. That is something which you don't really won't want that it gets out of your control and people can get know and how of it. We can control it. That is called control of the data breaches. Because the good data can easily be sold out in the markets in the dark web. For example, in the event of cybersecurity incident, a company may have predefined response plan like a contingency plan that includes notifying affected parties and implementing corrective measures. People you feel like that they are not up to the grade for the specific seminar or a webinar going on, we can highlight that they're not appropriate for it. Like a university grad and people from high school or the matriculation O levels, they are not supposed to attend those events. They're going to be quite high dignified one. For example, okay, let me give you the example. So, by understanding and implementing these elements, organizations can establish a robust framework for effective and secure information management. So, the main purpose of the complete discussion and doing the points from your indicative content was that how much it holds the importance in the era of managing information and knowledge. Because everything is related to the corporate sector indirectly. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. And now I'm going to do the example for you people, which will make sure that the concept for 4.1 is clear in your mind. The scenario is secure storage and confidentiality in healthcare. Now, this is the problem, and this is the scenario through which we are going to talk about different points. Explanation. In a reputable healthcare institution, policies and procedures related to information management play a crucial role in ensuring patient confidentiality and the secure storage of medical records. Is it clear the concept that what we the example is going to be about?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Now the points are again from your indicative content, like I shaped it with the example accordingly. Confidentiality policies. Healthcare providers are required to adhere to strict confidentiality policies to protect patient privacy. That's true. This is the mandation upon them. Access to electronic health records (EHRS) is restricted to authorized medical personnel involved in the direct care of patients because they are talking to you all the time. They know each and everything about your family, about you, your healthcare, your past history, why you're getting the treatment, what will be the outcome. So it's sensitive as well. Like people of high profiles, prime ministers, chairmen, they are already on threat. And when if an information gets leaked out, like if an XYZ person is allergic to peanut oil or peanuts, accidentally what they can do, they can add that oil or an instinct into the food and it can have an adverse effect. It can cause death too. This is the reason why we always be so secure for the confidentiality matters and data breaches.